yada, yada, yada. There's a lot to learn with brewing beer and really familiarizing yourself with all the ingredients you're working with. It's very much like baking, you know. Everybody knows, well, yeah, just about everything that you bake most of the time has sugar and flour and maybe some butter. You know, but you just can't just wing it. You know, there's recipes and you can't really, you know, mess with them too much. You know, and I kind of thought of beer the same way, but with mead, it's a lot more like cooking. It's all, you know, I know what honey tastes like. I know what raspberries taste like. You know, like I know what blueberries taste like, or spices and this and that. So it was a lot easier for me to kind of get a grasp on, you know, building new recipes and adjusting and fine tuning things.
Who's snoring or blowing their nose? What the hell is that?
It's not me.
It's not me either. The puppies are sleeping, but they're across the room and they're not snoring. Hey,
I thought somebody was pleasuring themselves as I was talking about
Bobby, wake up!
I'm hoping it's not the little Chewbacca that Manny put in the private feed.
That could be it.
Having noisy emoticons on Skype would just be dumb, but I wouldn't put it past them.
I wouldn't put it past them either. Yeah. Well, you were
it
talking...
couldn't have been...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Couldn't have been me. My mic was off. So.
It was Bobby's dog.
Might be my dog chewing on the phone. I can hear her halfway across the room.
So yeah, you were talking, Sergio, about mead. Making mead is more like cooking, and that seems like kind of a really interesting segue into kind of the way Bob makes mead. Because Bob, you're what I used to call myself was a seat of the pants mead maker, because I would taste it and then add things and then taste it and then add things till I got it where I wanted it. And that was back in the early days before Pete started beating me up with nutrients and and stirring sticks. But you know, in the hydrometer.
Yeah, no, I think most people, you know, are inspired by what they eat.
Well, yes and no. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't seem to make that connection. You see them all the time on the, you know, on the various groups, and they're like, they think simple. Bobby, you and I were talking about this, I think, a couple days ago, where it was like, you know, everybody makes like raspberry melomel or, you know, chocolate mead or whatever. You know, I mean, there's kind of a theme that seems to happen, and they're not thinking like, you know, raspberry, rosemary, sage mead, or, you know, just things that would go interestingly together.
Well, I like to look at like ethnic foods, especially when you look at like other cultures, like you know, Asian influenced and Indian, and you see the things that they put together. And some of them, they've been, you know, that are centuries old, and they work. And you know, just getting them over from food to drink is pretty easy. You know, and the flavors are already tried and true. They already work.
Yeah.
Yeah, some things even more, you know, a lot of things more easier than others, too. I mean, I saw somebody post up, I think it might have been on the Mead Makers page. You know, anybody have any idea how we can make an eggnog mead?
Like, well, what's in eggnog? You know, I mean, that's an easy one. The spices are well known. The only thing that I could see issues with would be the, would be the milk products. And I mean, we fermented milk meads before. It just takes a little practice, is all.
Eggnog syllabub.
Well, it's basically a liquid custard. You know?
Pretty much,
yeah.
Well,
there's actually a very good recipe on the Got Mead website for eggnog that someone posted. I've used it several times.
Okay. I remember there was we had a good 6 months or so where people were all talking about making milk meads, and it was people who were interested in, just different, they wanted to see what they could do with it, you know, and I think a lot of them were interested in, what's it called, the steppe drink that the Mongolians make. It's not kvass, is it?
Kefir? Kefir, whatever. Yeah.
Kefir.
Yeah, I've made that before.
There's another one. It's the mare's milk, fermented mare's milk, and I can't think of the name of it. Somebody will tell me, I'm sure, on the feed in a minute. But
I think
we're all furiously Googling.
Yeah. Not me. I figured all y'all would. So you know. David Webb is saying he had a nice pear cardamom session mead from Crafted Artisan, and that would have been really good. I didn't get a bottle of
Kumis?
that. Kumis. Thank you. That's it. Yes, thank you. I'll be able to sleep tonight now. But I like some of the really more interesting combinations because I'm like Bob. I'm kind of right there with you. I'm tired of same old. I mean, I'm making another freezer mead because we had our fridge was starting to die, so we had to get a new fridge, and so of course we had to empty out the freezer. And I found a bunch of bags of various and sundry, and there was blueberries and blackberries and some strawberries. And then I had two bottles, two 1.2 liter, or 1.4 liter bottles of Smart Juice strawberry juice. So I just dumped it all in a bucket and added honey until I got to the level that I wanted, and then added some water and got it up to where I wanted it and kicked it off, and I'm looking at it now and going, well, it's got this really rich fruit flavor, but I want some kind of contrasting note in there. It's all fruit. It needs something else. So now I'm going to be mulling over that while it's fermenting to see what I can put in secondary to give it more of a complex kick. I'm thinking maybe tea. I haven't decided yet.
I'd be careful because you told me that starting gravity, it's going to ferment dry.
It was. It ended up after the fruit out juiced because I just tossed the fruit in. I didn't squish it first. I took it out of the freezer, let it thaw, and then just chucked it in the bucket. So I didn't. Usually I take a potato masher to it, but I was feeling lazy, so I didn't. After the fruit out juiced, we ended up at 1130. So it's up there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure the ice
quite a bit.
Yeah,
the ice crystals did all the mashing for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping, yeah. But I seem to be getting, the flavor on it, John and I tried it, before when we pitched because I wanted to see what it tasted like so I'd have a flavor profile in my head. And it's really nice. I mean, it's bright. It's really bright. And which is interesting because blueberries and blackberries tend to be a much darker fruit flavor, but it's a really bright with all that strawberry juice, which also had some pineapple juice and I think papaya juice in it. So
that would be a nice balance of acid.
Yeah, I think so. It feels like it's got a pretty good acid balance, but I'm casting about for some sort of herbal or tea note that I want to bring into the end, and I'll have to play with it a little bit and see what I get. But I mean, that's the thing is like I'm not, and I think I'm not alone in this. I'm getting bored with plain old meads.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go out into the frontier and try different things. Bobby, you do that all the time.
Yeah, I've been playing with bochets and with different things. Last year I made a cherry bochet with vanilla beans aged in bourbon barrels.
Nice.
That came out really nice. Then I did one with Russian smoked caravan tea. And I really like where that one came out because I had a tiny bit of smoke in it. And I very lightly caramelized the honey. And then I did another one with a bochet with apple cider and vanilla beans and cinnamon and toasted pecans. That one came out nice.
Yeah. I really like the pecan pie that Sergio did. That was excellent.
Yes, it was. I like that one too.
It's also very gone now. I have to get some more next time you do that. I'm assuming it's all gone. So
it is, yeah. Besides our private stash and aging room, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned that, like about different meads. A few months ago, I was having a conversation with my brother, and I said, I kind of feel like, I'm getting bored of like the type of meads that we're making. There's some traditional meads, and we have, like a raspberry mead, strawberry mead, and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, all right, well, I don't want to make any more meads that are boring. I want to make everything that we put in the tank, I want to be different. Let's really, really start experimenting, not just like kind of like almost practicing making like like straight fruit mead, straight traditionals, and Yeah, and we've been doing that, and it's been a lot of fun. You know, I always look for inspiration everywhere. I get a lot from, obviously, food comes to mind for sure, and music. I always get so many ideas listening to music.
Really?
Sometimes it's just like, you know, sometimes what ends up happening is I hear a song or I hear a lyric. You know, I see something, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, I get an idea for the name of a mead first, and then all of a sudden it's, what kind of a recipe can I put to that name? So it's usually it's the other way around. You know, you come up with the recipe, and you're trying to come up with a name for it, but most of the time it ends up working out the opposite for me. There's, you know, a big fan of the Black Keys, the band Black Keys, and they have a song called Howlin' For You, and yeah, first thing, obviously, you think of howling, I think werewolf. So I'm like, you know, let's make a werewolf-inspired mead. And, you know, what the hell would a werewolf-inspired mead
What do you only
be,
drink
you know?
during the full moon, or what?
No, maybe we could also, like, you know, marketing-wise, but, you know, not just marketing-wise, but actually do it. You know, maybe we'll make it under a full moon, too, and release it on, you know, a full moon. But, I mean, besides that, there's got to be more to it than just that. And then it got me thinking, and, you know, I started doing research. It's like, I'm Googling, what do werewolves eat? And,
Well, humans.
Depends on the game system.
Or vampires, depending on the movie you're watching.
and I came across a lot of interesting information online.
I bet you did.
So I came across this site. I actually ended up copying and pasting this into my Evernote just because I might actually end up just putting this into the description of the mead somehow. But basically, it was a website as to, like, how do you know you're a werewolf? And this is what they said. The symptom pretty clear in case you're unsure. One moment you're a human being, the next you're a werewolf. It's really hard to miss. All right. Even if you don't remember this unusual change, your friends whose limbs you may or may not have bitten off will probably be able to tell you. Of course, lots of fur around the house is also another good sign that something's up.
Oh, my God. Oh, God. Okay, so Joe Vinciguerra has a question. He says, do you have any advice, since you're working, he says, do you have any advice you could share about handling nuts? No puns intended, he says. He's working with almonds right now, and he's skimming off the oil every few days, and it's making him crazy, so.
I have, honestly, the only two that I've only played with two nuts. Peanuts and...
And this is why we marked the show explicit.
That was totally PG. I don't know what you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, I've done now 2 different PB&J meads. You know, we have our second one in the fermenters right now, and we did the pecan pie mead. There's only 2 that I've actually used in mead making. I've considered using almonds, but I held back from trying anything just yet, just because, you know, the whole cyanide thing, and I was like, let me just do some more research to make sure that would even be safe, and I just didn't know enough about it to feel confident in that. But I mean, I would assume, I mean, nuts are nuts. So, I mean, if you're heating them up and boiling them, I'm guessing that's what he did. I don't know if he's just cold steeping them. I'm not exactly sure, but you know, especially if you heated them, when you boil like the peanuts, like we would do for peanut butter and jelly mead, you're eventually at some point in the boil, you're going to start seeing all those oils come up to the top, and they start coming more and more and more. And yeah, you definitely want to skim off all that oil. What we actually end up doing is we just make it really difficult for ourselves, and instead of bagging up all of the peanuts and throwing them into the boil kettles, we actually were using 2 132-gallon boil kettles on a double burner. So we had like 260, gallons of capacity. Basically, both of them were filled with peanuts and water.
Wow.
And none of them bagged, by the way, just because I'm like, I just really don't feel we're going to get full, use full extraction out of those peanuts if they're all bagged up. So I said, screw it. We'll just deal with the mess afterwards of shoveling all these peanuts out of here. But with that said, the cool thing about that is the boil kettles have a drain valve at the bottom, on the